Welcome to Stone Creek Farm. The world outside can wait. Tonight you are exactly where you need to be, and there is nowhere else calling your name. Take a deep breath with me now, slow and steady, filling your lungs with the cool evening air. And as you exhale, feel your shoulders drop away from your ears. Feel the weight of the day begin to lift like morning mist over Mirror Lake. Good. One more breath, even deeper this time. And as you release it, know that you are safe, you are warm, and you are home. The blizzard arrived just after sunset, sweeping down from Old Greyback with a fierce determination that only a winter storm can carry. The wind howls across the open fields, whipping the snow into wild spirals that dance and spin in the darkness. The temperature has dropped sharply, and the air outside bites with a cold that makes your bones ache just thinking about it. But you are not outside. You are not standing in that wind, not feeling that cold against your skin. You are inside the old barn at Stone Creek Farm, surrounded by thick timber walls that have weathered 100 winters just like this one, and you are warm. The barn is a sanctuary tonight, a fortress of weathered wood and ancient beams that creak and sigh as the wind presses against them. But the walls hold strong, just as they always have, just as they always will. Outside, the world is white chaos, but in here, the air is still and golden with the soft glow of 2 kerosene lanterns hanging from iron hooks. The light they cast is amber and gentle, creating pools of warmth that push back against the winter darkness. Shadows move slowly across the walls, soft and unhurried, like the barn itself is breathing. You are exactly where you need to be. You can hear the storm, of course. The wind finds every crack and crevice in the old structure, whistling through gaps in the wooden slats with a high, thin sound that rises and falls like a faraway song. The snow pelts against the barn's exterior in waves, a constant rushing whisper that sounds almost like the ocean, like standing on a shore with waves breaking endlessly against smooth stones. But these sounds do not frighten you. They do not make you anxious. Instead, they remind you of how safe you are, how protected, how completely sheltered from the wildness outside. The barn doors are closed tight, secured with the heavy iron latch that your grandfather installed decades ago. The wood is swollen from the cold and the moisture, fitting snugly into the frame. And you know that no wind, no matter how fierce, will force its way through. The barn is sealed, warm, and yours for the night. You are not alone. Barley and Bramble are here with you, the 2 horses who have been your companions through so many seasons. They stand in their stalls, calm and content, their presence a comfort that words cannot quite capture. Barley, the massive Belgian draft, with his golden coat and blonde mane, stands with his head lowered slightly, his eyes half closed in contentment. He is warm and sleepy, unbothered by the storm. Beside him, in the neighboring stall, Bramble shifts his weight from one hoof to the other with a soft sound against the cobbled floor. The older bay horse, with his deep brown coat and black mane, has seen many winters, and he knows that this barn is the safest place on the farm when the weather turns fierce. The barn walls hold strong, they have always held strong. You move slowly through the barn, your boots making soft sounds against the packed earth floor. The air smells of hay and horses, of old wood and leather, of dried timothy grass and the faint sweetness of molasses from the grain you fed them earlier. It is a smell you know as well as your own heartbeat, a smell that means home, that means safety, that means all is well. Miller is here too, the old sheepdog who follows you everywhere. He walked with you from the farmhouse through the first gusts of the storm, staying close to your side as the wind began to pick up, his shaggy grey body moving with that slow, deliberate pace that comes with age and wisdom. Now he lies on a pile of hay near the barn entrance, his white head resting on his massive paws, his eyes watching you with that calm, protective gaze that says he will stay here as long as you need him. His breathing is deep and steady, a slow rhythm that matches the creaking of the barn's timbers. There is nowhere else you need to be. The farmhouse is warm and waiting, yes, but tonight you are staying here in the barn, wrapped in wool blankets, watching over barley and bramble as the storm spends itself against the old walls. This is your choice, your gift to yourself. A night of simple presence, of being exactly where you are, with no rushing, no hurrying, no thoughts of tomorrow. The blizzard outside is beautiful in its fury, but you are inside, and you are safe, and that is all that matters. The barn is arranged just as it has been for as long as you can remember. The main aisle runs down the centre, wide enough for a cart to pass through when the doors are open, though tonight those doors are sealed tight against the wind. On either side of the aisle are the stalls, 4 in total, though only 2 are occupied tonight. Barley's stall is on the left, closest to the tack room, and Bramble's is right beside it. The wood of the stall doors is dark with age, smooth from years of hands running across it, and the iron latches are heavy and cold to the touch. Outside, the wind finds a gap in the barn's northern wall and whistles through, a pure high note that holds for 3 seconds, then fades, then returns. It is the sound of winter singing to itself. Above you, the hayloft stretches across the upper level of the barn, accessible by a worn wooden ladder that leans against the far wall. The loft is packed with hay bales, neat rectangular stacks that you and Silas cut and baled last summer when the fields were golden and the air was thick with heat and pollen. Now those bales wait in the darkness above, dry and sweet-smelling, ready to feed the horses through the long winter months. You can see the edges of them from down here, dusty and golden in the lantern light, and the smell of dried grass drifts down like a blessing. You are exactly where you need to be. There is nowhere else to be but here. The tack room is a small space built into the left side of the barn, just past Barley's stall. Inside, bridles hang from wooden pegs driven into the wall. their leather dark and supple from years of oil and care. Saddles rest on sawhorses, draped with clean blankets to protect them from dust. Brushes and combs sit in a wooden box on a shelf, alongside tins of hoof oil and jars of salve for scrapes and scratches. The room smells of leather and lanolin, of metal polish and saddle soap, and when you step inside, the sounds of the storm become even more muffled, even more distant. But you are not in the tack room now. You are standing in the main aisle of the barn, midway between the two occupied stalls, and you are simply breathing, simply being. Take a slow breath with me now. Feel the cool air enter your lungs, carrying the scent of hay and horses. Hold it for just a moment and release it slowly, feeling your chest soften, your shoulders drop. Good. The lantern light flickers slightly as a gust of wind finds its way through some invisible crack, but the flame steadies almost immediately, and the golden glow remains constant. You reach up and adjust the wick on the nearest lantern, turning the small brass key until the flame burns a little brighter, a little warmer. The glass chimney is slightly dusty, and you make a mental note to clean it tomorrow. But tonight it does not matter. Tonight everything is exactly as it should be. You walk over to Barley's stall and rest your arms on the wooden door, leaning forward to watch him. He stands with his massive head lowered to the hay net, hanging in the corner of his stall, pulling mouthfuls of dried grass with a slow, deliberate rhythm. His jaw works sideways as he chews, and the sound is soft and rhythmic, like waves on a shore, like rain on leaves. His blonde mane falls across his neck in thick, tangled strands, and his coat, even in winter, gleams like honey in the lantern light. He is warm. You can feel the heat radiating from his body, even from where you stand, the deep animal warmth that only a large horse can produce. The barn walls hold strong. The storm cannot reach you here. Barley's eyes are dark and liquid, reflecting the lantern light like two polished stones. He glances at you as he chews, acknowledging your presence with a soft, rumbling exhale through his nostrils. It is not quite a whinny, not quite a sigh, but something in between, a sound of contentment, of recognition, of simple gladness that you are here. You reach through the bars of the stall door and place your hand on his neck, feeling the solid warmth of his skin beneath your palm, feeling the coarse texture of his winter coat. He does not move away. He simply continues chewing, allowing you to touch him, allowing you to share his warmth. Beside him, Bramble shifts again in his stall. The older horse has finished his hay and now stands with one hind hoof resting on its tip, a sign of deep relaxation. His dark bay coat is almost black in the shadows, and his mane and tail are equally dark, like ink spilled across parchment. Bramble's eyes are half closed, his lower lip loose and drooping slightly, and he looks as though he might fall asleep standing up, the way horses sometimes do. He has been with you for nearly 15 years, this old gelding, and he has earned his rest. He has earned his warm stall and his pile of hay, and his night safe from the storm. You move to Bramble's stall and rest your hand on his door, watching him breathe. His sides expand and contract in a slow, steady rhythm, and you find yourself matching your own breathing to a without even meaning to. In and out, in and out. Slow and steady, like the ticking of a very old clock, like the turning of the earth itself. The storm outside seems to intensify for a moment, the wind howling with renewed vigor, and the barn shudders slightly under the assault. But it is a gentle shudder, a settling, like the building is simply acknowledging the storm's presence before returning to its stillness. The timbers creak overhead, one long, low note, like a cello string being drawn, and then everything returns to quiet. The horses do not startle. Miller does not lift his head. They know, as you know, that the barn will hold. You walk slowly to the far end of the aisle, where a pile of wool blankets waits for you on a stack of hay bales. You prepared this spot earlier, before the storm arrived in full force, dragging the bales into a rough rectangle and covering them with an old canvas tarp to protect against any stray bits of hay that might poke through. On top of the tarp, you layered 3 thick wool blankets, grey and cream, soft from many washings, smelling faintly of lavender from the sachets you keep in the farmhouse linen closet. A pillow rests at one end, covered in faded ticking fabric, and beside it sits a thick quilt that your grandmother made decades ago. Its pattern a simple 9-patch design in blues and creams. This is where you will sleep tonight, this makeshift bed in the barn, surrounded by the sounds of the storm and the soft breathing of the horses, watched over by Miller's protective presence. It is not a hardship, it is a gift. It is a choice to be present, to be still, to be exactly here and nowhere else. But before you settle down for the night, there is work to be done. Not urgent work, not difficult work, but the kind of slow, methodical tasks that quiet the mind and settle the spirit. The kind of work that allows your hands to be busy while your thoughts drift like snow, soft and directionless, until they settle into nothing at all. You begin with the water buckets. Each stall has a heavy rubber bucket hanging from a hook in the corner, and though you filled them just a few hours ago, you want to check them again to make sure the horses have everything they need for the long night ahead. You lift the first bucket from Barley's stall, feeling the weight of the water inside, and carry it over to the pump near the tack room door. The snow taps against the barn's eastern wall in steady waves, tap, 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 like fingers drumming on wood, patient and endless. The pump is an old thing, installed long before you were born, its iron handle worn smooth from decades of use. In summer, the water that comes from it is cold and sweet, drawn from a deep well that taps into an underground spring. In winter, the first few pumps bring up water that is shockingly cold, so cold it makes your hands ache if you touch it for too long. But tonight you are careful. You set the bucket on the ground beneath the spout and wrap your hand in a clean rag before gripping the handle. The pump resists at first, stiff from the cold, but you lean your weight into it and press down firmly. The handle descends with a low groan, and somewhere deep beneath the barn floor, you can feel the mechanism engaging. Feel the leather gaskets expanding and contracting as they draw water up from the darkness below. You lift the handle and press it down again and again and again, establishing a rhythm that is almost meditative. 1, 2, 3, 4. The sound of the pump is loud in the quiet barn, a metallic squeak followed by a rush of water that splashes into the bucket with a hollow, echoing sound. You count each stroke silently. 5, 6, 7, 8. The rhythm is steady, unchanging, like a heartbeat, like breathing, like the oldest music in the world. There is nowhere else to be but here, right here, in this moment, with your hand on the pump and the water rising in the bucket. 9, 10, 11, 12. The water is clear and cold, and when the bucket is half full, you stop pumping and lift it to check the level. Good. Barley drinks more than bramble, but not by much, and this will be plenty to last through the night. You carry the bucket back to his stall, your hands wrapped around the handle, feeling the cold of the metal through the rag. The water sloshes gently with each step, and a few drops spill over the rim and splash onto your boots, leaving dark spots on the leather. You hang the bucket back on its hook in Barley's stall, and he immediately moves over to investigate, lowering his massive head to the bucket and sniffing at the water. His whiskers brush the surface, creating tiny ripples that spread outward in perfect circles, and then he dips his muzzle in and drinks with long, noisy gulps. You watch him drink, watch the way his throat moves as he swallows, watch the water level drop steadily in the bucket. When he is satisfied, he lifts his head, water dripping from his chin, and returns to his hay net. You repeat the process with Bramble's bucket, though his is still nearly full. He is not as thirsty tonight, content to simply stand in his warm stall and doze. Still, you top it off just to be sure, pumping fresh cold water until the bucket is full and heavy again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The pump squeaks and groans, and the water splashes, and the rhythm of it all is soothing in a way you cannot quite name. When both buckets are full, you move on to the hay. The horses have plenty for the night, but you want to check the nets hanging in each stall to make sure they are secure and that the hay inside is still fresh and sweet smelling. You walk to the base of the ladder that leads up to the hayloft, testing the first rung with your boot to make sure it is solid. The wood is old but strong, and it holds your weight easily as you begin to climb. The wind howls, a long, sustained note that seems to come from everywhere at once, pressing against the barn like a living thing. But the walls hold strong. They have always held strong. The ladder is steep, and each rung creaks slightly as you step on it, but the sound is familiar and comforting. You climb slowly, one hand gripping the side rail, the other reaching ahead to the next rung, until your head emerges through the opening in the loft floor and you can see the stacks of hay bales stretching away into the shadows. The air up here is even drier, even warmer, and it smells intensely of dried grass and dust and summer sunlight captured and held through the cold months. You pull yourself up onto the loft floor and stand for a moment, brushing bits of hay from your sleeves. The loft is dimly lit by the glow of the lanterns below, and shadows pool in the corners where the light does not reach. You walk carefully across the wide wooden planks, your footsteps soft and muffled by the layers of loose hay scattered across the floor. Mice live up here, you know, though you rarely see them. They are barn mice, harmless creatures who help keep the grain bins clean and who scatter at the first sign of movement. You do not mind them. They are part of the barn's ecosystem, as much as the swallows who nest in the rafters each spring. You select a bale from the top of the nearest stack, gripping the twine that binds it and pulling it toward you. The bale is heavy but manageable, and you drag it to the edge of the loft opening. Below, Miller lifts his head from his paws, watching you with mild interest. You lower the bale carefully, using your legs to take the weight, and then let it drop the last few feet to the barn floor. It lands with a soft thump, and a small cloud of dust rises from where it hits. You climb back down the ladder, taking your time, feeling each rung solid beneath your feet. When you reach the bottom, you retrieve the bale and carry it over to the tack room, where you keep a pair of heavy shears for cutting the twine. The shears hang from a nail on the wall, their blades slightly rusted but still sharp, and you lift them carefully, feeling the weight of the metal in your hand. You cut the twine with 2 quick snips, and the bale springs open like a flower blooming, the compressed hay expanding and loosening until it is a pile of loose stems and leaves. The smell intensifies immediately, sweet and green, and you breathe it in deeply, letting it fill your lungs. This is good hay, cut at the perfect time, dried under the hot July sun until all the moisture was gone, but all the sweetness remained. The horses love it, and it will keep them healthy and warm through the winter. You gather an armful of hay and carry it to Barley's stall, stuffing it into the net that hangs from the corner post. The net is made of rough rope knotted together in a diamond pattern, and the hay pokes through the holes in uneven tufts. You work slowly, methodically, making sure the net is full, but not so packed that Barley will have trouble pulling the hay out. When you are satisfied, you tie the bottom of the net securely and move on to Bramble's stall, repeating the process. Bramble watches you work, his dark eyes soft and curious. When you finish filling his net, he immediately moves over to investigate, sniffing at the fresh hay before taking a small mouthful and chewing thoughtfully. You reach through the stall bars and run your hand down his neck, feeling the warmth of his skin, feeling the steady beat of his heart beneath your palm. He leans into your touch slightly, a small gesture of trust and affection, and you feel something inside your chest loosen and soften. The barn is so quiet now, except for the storm. The wind continues to howl outside, and the snow continues to fall, but inside these walls, everything is still and warm and safe. The horses are content, Miller is dozing. The lanterns burn steadily, and you are here, present and whole, with nothing to do but be. Take another breath with me, slow and deep. Feel the air fill your lungs, and as you exhale, let your shoulders drop a little more. Good. You return to the open hay bale and gather the loose stems that have fallen onto the floor, sweeping them into a neat pile with your hands. Waste nothing. That is the old way, the farm way, and it is a principle you live by. The loose hay goes into a wooden crate near the tack room, where it will be used as bedding for the chickens back in the hen house, or as kindling for the farmhouse stove on cold mornings. Everything has a purpose. Everything has a place. When the floor is clean, you take a moment to simply stand in the center of the barn, your hands on your hips, surveying your work. The stalls are clean, the water buckets are full, the hay nets are stuffed and secure. The horses are warm and content. There is nothing left to do but rest. But not quite yet. There is still the tack to organize, the saddles to check, the bridles to wipe down. These are not urgent tasks, but they are satisfying ones, the kind of work that allows your mind to empty itself completely, to focus only on the feel of leather under your fingers, the smell of saddle soap, the soft glow of the lantern light on polished metal. You are exactly where you need to be. There is nowhere else to be but here. You walk into the tack room and light the small lantern that sits on the shelf near the door. This one is smaller than the others, with a shorter chimney and a brass base that has turned green with age. The flame catches immediately, and the room fills with warm golden light. The walls are lined with hooks and pegs, each one holding a different piece of equipment. Bridles with their reins coiled neatly, halters made of soft rope or leather, lead lines, grooming brushes, hoof picks, and curry combs. Everything is arranged with care, each item in its proper place, because a well-organized tack room is a sign of a well-run farm. Outside, a timber creaks in the cold, a long musical groan that rises and falls like a wooden violin. The barn is singing its winter song. You begin with Barley's bridle. It hangs from a peg near the door, and when you lift it down, you can feel the weight of the metal bit pulling the leather straps into familiar shapes. The leather is dark brown, almost black, and it is soft from years of oiling and use. You carry the bridle over to the small workbench beneath the window and drape it across the surface, spreading out the straps so you can inspect each piece. The headstall is in good condition with no cracks or weak spots, but the leather is slightly dusty. You take a clean rag from the shelf and dampen it with a few drops of water from the jug you keep in the corner, then begin wiping down each strap, working slowly and carefully. 1 stroke, 2 strokes, 3 strokes, 4. The rag glides over the leather, picking up dust and dirt, and you focus completely on the sensation, the slight resistance as the cloth catches on the grain of the leather, the way the material grows warmer under your hand, the subtle change in color as the dust is lifted away. 5 strokes, 6 strokes, 7. You rinse the rag frequently in the small basin of water on the bench. The water turns slightly grey, but the leather begins to shine, the dark color deepening with each pass of the cloth. 8 strokes, 9 strokes, 10. You work your way down the cheek piece, moving from the crown to the bit rings, counting each stroke silently, letting the numbers fill your mind so there is room for nothing else. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. The repetition is meditative, grounding. There is only this moment, this stroke, this piece of leather beneath your fingers. 16, 17, 18. The barn walls hold strong. You are safe here, counting strokes in the warm lamplight. When the first strap is clean, you move to the second, starting the count over. 1, 2, 3. The leather is slightly thicker here, along the brow band, and it takes more pressure to clean it thoroughly. 4, 5, 6. Your wrist moves in small circles, working the cloth into every crease, every fold. 7, 8, 9. When the bridle is clean, you reach for the tin of saddle soap on the shelf. The tin is old, its label faded and peeling, but the soap inside is still good, soft and slightly oily, with a smell that is sharp and pleasant. You open it slowly, feeling the lid give way with a soft pop, and you breathe in the scent, lanolin and glycerin, and something earthy and rich that reminds you of rainstorms and leather boots and grandfather's old workshop. You dip the rag into the soap and begin working it into the leather, using small circular motions. You can feel the soap absorb into the material, feel it soften the fibers, feel it penetrate deep into the layers. 1 circle, 2 circles, 3 circles, 4. Your wrist rotates in a steady rhythm, clockwise, always clockwise, and you watch the leather darken as the soap sinks in. 5 circles, 6 circles, 7. The work is almost hypnotic, and your breathing slows to match the rhythm of your hand. 8 circles, 9 circles, 10. There is nowhere else to be but here, watching your hand move in circles, feeling the leather soften beneath your fingers. You move to the next section of strap, beginning the count again. 1 circle, 2 circles, 3. The leather here is slightly worn, the grain more visible, and you add a little more soap, a little more pressure. 4 circles, 5 circles, 6. Your fingers follow the curve of the strap, moving around the buckles, under the keepers, across the smooth surface. 7 circles, 8 circles, 9. The storm outside seems to pause for a moment, a brief silence, and then returns with a rush of wind that makes the barn walls shudder gently. But you barely notice. You are too focused on the leather, on the circles, on the steady meditative work of your hands. 10 circles, 11 circles, 12. You check the bit next, running your fingers over the cold metal, to feel for any rough spots that might irritate Barley's mouth. The bit is smooth and clean, the stainless steel cool against your skin. You examine each ring carefully, looking for wear or sharp edges. The metal is polished and even, reflecting the lantern light in bright crescents. You take a dry cloth and begin to polish the bit, working in long, straight strokes. 1 stroke from left to right, 2 strokes, 3 strokes, 4. The cloth whispers against the metal, and the bit begins to gleam. 5 strokes, 6 strokes, 7. You turn the bit over and polish the other side, maintaining the same steady rhythm. 8 strokes, 9 strokes, 10. When you're satisfied, you test the rings, turning them slowly between your fingers. They move smoothly without any resistance, and you nod to yourself. 1 full rotation clockwise, 1 full rotation counterclockwise. Perfect. This bridle will last another season, maybe 2, before it needs serious repair. You are exactly where you need to be. The work of your hands soothes your mind. You hang the bridle back on its peg and move on to Brambles. His is older than Barley's, the leather more worn and softer, but it is still in good condition. You repeat the process, wiping down the straps, counting each stroke, working in the saddle soap with careful circles, checking the bit, polishing the metal. Your hands move automatically now, guided by muscle memory and years of practice. 1 stroke, 2 strokes, 3 strokes. You do not need to think about what you are doing, you simply do it, and the doing itself is enough. 1 circle, 2 circles, 3 circles. The numbers fill your mind like a gentle chant, leaving no room for worry or planning or thought. 4 circles, 5 circles, 6 circles. There is only leather and soap and the steady movement of your hands. 7 circles, 8 circles, 9 circles, 10. When both bridles are clean and hanging back on their pegs, you turn your attention to the saddles. Barley's saddle is a heavy Western style, with a high cantle and a wide seat that distributes weight evenly across his broad back. It sits on a sawhorse in the corner of the tack room, covered with a clean blanket to keep the dust off. You remove the blanket and fold it carefully, setting it aside, then run your hand over the saddle's surface. The leather is thick and sturdy, and it has been oiled so many times over the years that it is almost black. You can see the grain pattern clearly now in the lantern light, tiny lines and whorls that spread across the leather like the rings in a cut tree, telling the story of the animal this material once came from. You trace one of the lines with your fingertip, following it as it curves across the seat, down the slope, toward the horn. The line branches into 2 smaller lines, then merges back into one. You follow it patiently, slowly, letting your finger glide across the smooth surface. The leather is cool to the touch, but it warms quickly under your hand. The barn walls hold strong. You are safe here, tracing patterns in leather. You take a brush from the shelf, a small, soft, bristled brush meant for delicate work. and begin brushing the saddle, working your way across the seat. 1 stroke, 2 strokes, 3 strokes. Dust and bits of hay come away with each stroke, falling to the floor in small piles. 4 strokes, 5 strokes, 6 strokes. You work methodically, covering every inch of the saddle, down the fenders, 7 strokes, 8 strokes, 9 strokes. Over the skirts, 10 strokes, 11 strokes, 12 strokes. Along the rigging, 13 strokes, 14 strokes, 15 strokes. When the saddle is clean, you apply a thin layer of leather conditioner, squeezing a small amount onto your fingers. The conditioner is thick and slightly warm from sitting near the lantern, and it smells like beeswax and oil. You begin working it into the saddle seat, using long, smooth strokes. 1 stroke from pommel to cantle, 2 strokes, 3 strokes. You can feel the friction between your fingers and the leather, feel the warmth building. 4 strokes, 5 strokes, 6 strokes. The conditioner begins to absorb, and the leather darkens, developing a deep, rich luster. 7 strokes, 8 strokes, 9 strokes. 10. You work your way across the entire seat, then move to the fenders. Your fingers glide over the leather in long, patient strokes, working the conditioner into every inch. 11 strokes, 12 strokes, 13 strokes. The grain pattern becomes more visible as you work, tiny valleys and ridges that your fingers learn by touch. 14 strokes, 15 strokes, 16 strokes. There is nowhere else to be but here, feeling the leather warm beneath your hands. The snow outside taps against the barn in a steady rhythm. Tap, 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 tap. Like a heartbeat, like breathing, like the pulse of the winter night itself. Bramble's saddle is lighter, an English-style saddle with a flatter seat and smaller knee rolls. It is older than Barley's saddle, a relic from Bramble's younger days when he was used for jumping and dressage. Now he is retired, too old for such activities, but the saddle remains, a reminder of what he once was. You clean it with the same care, the same attention to detail, brushing away dust and applying conditioner until the leather gleams. 1 stroke, 2 strokes, 3 strokes, 4 strokes, 5. The rhythm continues, steady and unchanging. 6 strokes, 7 strokes, 8 strokes, 9 strokes, 10. Your breathing has synchronized with the motion of your hands. Inhale as you begin the stroke. Exhale as you complete it. 11 strokes, 12 strokes, 13 strokes, 14 strokes, 15. The work takes time, but you do not rush. There is no reason to hurry. The storm will rage for hours yet, and you have all the time in the world. You move from one task to the next, wiping down the stirrup leathers, checking the billets, oiling the buckles, until every piece of tack in the room has been inspected and cleaned. Your hands are slightly oily now from the conditioner, and they smell of leather and metal and soap. It is a good smell, an honest smell, the smell of work well done. When the tack is finished, you step back and survey the room. Everything is in its place. The bridles hang straight on their pegs, the leather soft and supple. The saddles rest on their sawhorses, gleaming in the lantern light. The brushes and combs are back in their box, the hoof picks are back on their hooks, and the tins of soap and oil are back on the shelf. The room is orderly and calm, a reflection of the care you have taken, and you feel a deep sense of satisfaction settle over you like a warm blanket. You extinguish the small lantern in the tack room, turning the key to lower the wick until the flame gutters and dies, and then you step back out into the main aisle of the barn. Miller is still lying on his pile of hay near the door, but his head is up now, his ears prick forward, listening to the storm. You walk over to him and kneel down beside him, running your hand over his shaggy grey coat, feeling the warmth of his body beneath the thick fur. He leans into your touch, pressing his head against your leg, and you scratch behind his ears the way he likes. Barley and Bramble are both drowsing in their stalls now, their heads low, their eyes half closed. They are deeply relaxed, deeply content, and the sight of them fills you with a quiet joy. This is why you stay here tonight, in the barn during the storm. Not because you have to, but because you want to. Because being here, with the horses and the dog and the smell of hay and leather, brings you a peace that nothing else can match. The storm outside is reaching its peak now. The wind screams around the barn, one long, sustained howl that seems to go on forever. And the snow falls so thickly that you know the world beyond these walls must be completely white, completely transformed. But you do not need to see it to know it is happening. You can hear it in the way the wind howls, in the way the building shudders and settles, in the way the cold presses against every surface, trying to find a way in. But the barn holds, the walls are strong, the roof is sound, and inside you are warm and safe and exactly where you need to be. You make your way slowly to the pile of hay bales where your makeshift bed waits, your footsteps soft against the packed earth floor. The wool blankets are still there just as you left them, and the pillow looks impossibly inviting in the golden lantern light. But you are not quite ready to lie down yet. There is one more thing you want to do, one more small ritual to complete before you settle in for the night. You walk to the far corner of the barn, where a small wooden chest sits on a low shelf. The chest is old, its corners reinforced with tarnished brass, and the wood is dark with age. You lift the lid, and inside you find a collection of small treasures: a wool scarf, a pair of thick socks, a tin of peppermint candies, a book with a worn cloth cover. These are your comforts, the things you keep here in the barn for nights like this, when you choose to stay rather than return to the farmhouse. You take the scarf first, unfolding it and draping it around your neck. It is soft and warm, knitted from thick yarn in a pattern of cables and twists, and it smells faintly of wood smoke and lavender. The weight of it against your shoulders is comforting, grounding, and you wrap it a little tighter, pulling the ends close. Next, you take the socks and sit down on a hay bale to remove your boots. Your feet are not cold, but the extra layer will feel good once you lie down, and the socks are thick and soft, hand-knitted from grey wool. You set your boots aside carefully, lining them up beneath the bench so you will know where they are if you need them in the night. Then you pull on the socks, working them up over your calves, feeling the warmth immediately. Your feet relax into the soft wool and you wiggle your toes, feeling the material give and shift. Good, perfect. The tin of peppermint candies is next. You open it carefully, the lid coming off with a soft pop, and select one of the round white candies inside. You place it on your tongue, and the sharp, cool taste of peppermint floods your mouth, bright and clean. You close your eyes and let the candy dissolve slowly, savoring the flavor, feeling it spread across your palate like winter sunshine. The book is the last item you take from the chest. It is a collection of poems, old and familiar, with pages that are soft and slightly yellowed from being handled so many times. You do not plan to read much tonight, perhaps just a poem or two before you let yourself drift towards sleep. But having the book with you is comforting in itself. You tuck it under your arm and carry it over to your bed of hay bales, setting it down beside the pillow where you can reach it easily. As you turn back toward your bed, you notice a flicker of movement near the barn entrance. A small orange shape emerges from the shadows, picking her way delicately across the floor. Fig, the barn cat, her tiger-striped coat glowing in the lantern light. You had wondered where she was. Fig is old now, nearly as old as Miller, and she spends most of her time sleeping in the warmest spot she can find. She approaches Miller's resting place with the careful dignity that only cats possess, sniffing at his grey fur before circling once, twice, 3 times, and finally settling down against his side. Miller lifts his head slightly, acknowledges her with a gentle look, and then lowers his head back to his paws. Fig tucks her paws beneath her chest, wraps her tail around her body, and closes her eyes. Within moments she is purring, a low, rumbling sound that carries across the quiet barn. The sight of them together, the old dog and the old cat, seeking warmth and companionship on this storm-filled night, fills you with a tenderness that is almost overwhelming. This is what the barn offers, sanctuary, not just for you, but for all the creatures who call it home. Now, finally, you are ready to rest. You sit down on the edge of the hay bales, feeling them shift slightly beneath your weight, and then you swing your legs up and lie back against the pillow. The wool blankets are beneath you, soft and thick, and you pull the quilt up over your body, tucking it around your shoulders and letting its weight settle over you like a gentle hand. The quilt is heavy and warm, and the smell of lavender drifts up from the fabric, faint but unmistakable. You lie still for a moment, simply adjusting to the feeling of being horizontal, of letting your muscles relax after hours of standing and walking. The hay bales are surprisingly comfortable, the canvas tarp protecting you from any poking stems, and the pile of blankets beneath you is thick enough to cushion your body completely. You shift slightly, finding the perfect position, and then you let out a long, slow breath. Let yourself breathe here for a moment, slow and deep, in through your nose, feeling the cool air, out through your mouth, releasing everything. Good. The storm is still raging outside. You can hear it clearly now, the wind howling and the snow pelting against the barn walls with a sound like thrown sand. But the barn does not sway, does not shudder, does not give even an inch. It is solid and strong, a fortress built to last, and you are safe inside it, completely safe, utterly protected. Fig's purring continues, a gentle vibration that you can almost feel through the floor, and Miller's breathing has deepened into the rhythm of sleep. Beside you, just within arm's reach, their combined presence creates a cocoon of comfort and security. Barley shifts in his stall, and you hear the soft sound of his hooves against the cobbles. He is moving to lie down, you think, preparing to sleep as horses do, curled on the straw bedding with his legs tucked beneath him. You listen as he lowers himself with a soft groan, the sound of a large animal settling into rest, and then there is silence except for his breathing. Bramble is already lying down. You heard him go down nearly an hour ago, and now he is deeply asleep, his breaths slow and even, his body completely relaxed. Old horses need their rest, and Bramble is getting his tonight, safe and warm in his stall. The barn walls hold strong. You are safe here. You have always been safe here. You pick up the book of poems from beside your pillow and open it to a random page. The poems are short, simple verses about nature and seasons and the passage of time. You read one about winter, about snow falling on bare trees and fields lying fallow, about the world resting and gathering strength for spring. The words are beautiful and quiet, and they settle into your mind like snowflakes, soft and gentle and slow. You read another poem, this one about a hearth fire and the comfort of home. The poet writes about the way flames dance in the darkness, about the way warmth spreads through a room like a blessing, about the peace that comes from knowing you are exactly where you belong. The words resonate with you, echoing your own feelings tonight, and you close the book and set it aside, not needing to read anymore. The lanterns are still burning, their flames steady and bright, but the light they cast seems softer now, more golden, more like candlelight than lamplight. You watch the shadows moving slowly across the barn walls, cast by the flickering flames, and you feel your eyelids growing heavier, not with exhaustion, but with a deep, peaceful tiredness that comes from a day well spent, from work well done, from being present and whole and exactly where you need to be. Outside, the wind howls with renewed fury, and the barn shudders slightly, just a small movement, a settling. And then it is still again, the sound of the storm is becoming a kind of music now, a rhythmic rushing that rises and falls like waves, like breathing, like the steady beating of a heart. You listen to it without analyzing it, without thinking about it, simply letting it wash over you and through you and around you. Miller sighs beside you, a long, contented exhalation, and his body relaxes even further into the floor. His eyes are closed now, and his breathing is deep and slow. He is asleep, or very nearly, and his presence is a comfort that you cannot put into words. Fig has also fallen into deep sleep, her purring fading to a soft, barely audible rumble. Dogs and cats know things that humans sometimes forget. They know that being together is enough. They know that presence is love. They know that there is nowhere else to be but here, right now in this moment. You pull the quilt a little higher, tucking it under your chin, and you let your eyes close. Not to sleep, not yet, but just to rest them, to let them relax after hours of focusing on tasks and details. Behind your closed eyelids, you can still see the golden glow of the lanterns, and you can still hear the sounds of the barn, the horses breathing, the wind howling, Miller's steady heartbeat beside you, Fig's gentle purr. There is nothing you need to do, nothing you need to think about, nothing you need to plan or worry about or prepare for. Tonight, there is only this: the barn, the storm, the horses, the dog, the cat, the warmth of the blankets and the softness of the pillow, and the sweet smell of hay drifting down from the loft above. You are safe here. You have always been safe here. And you always will be safe here, in this old barn at Stone Creek Farm, where the walls are strong and the roof is sound, and the animals know you by name. The storm rages on outside, but it cannot touch you. It cannot reach you. It is beautiful and fierce and wild, but it is out there, and you are in here, and that makes all the difference in the world. Your breathing has slowed now, matching the rhythm of the horses, matching the rhythm of Miller and Fig's sleeping breaths, matching the rhythm of the storm itself. In and out, in and out. Each breath is deep and full, filling your lungs completely, and each exhale is slow and steady, releasing all the tension and worry and noise of the day. You feel your body sinking deeper into the hay bales, feel the blankets warming with your body heat, feel the pillow cradling your head like a hand. The wind outside finds a gap in the barn siding and whistles through it, a high, thin sound that rises and falls. But it is not a frightening sound. It is almost musical, like a distant flute, like a song played just for you. You listen to it without judgment, without fear, simply accepting it as part of the night, part of the storm, part of this moment. Barley stirs in his stall, shifting his weight, and you hear the rustle of straw as he adjusts his position. Then he settles again, and there is silence, except for his breathing, deep, slow breaths that match your own. The sound of a large animal at complete rest, completely content, completely safe. You think about how far you have come tonight. You walk from the farmhouse through the first gusts of the storm, with Miller at your side and the wind beginning to whip the snow into spirals. You secured the barn doors and lit the lanterns and checked on the horses, You filled their water buckets and stuffed their hay nets and climbed into the loft to bring down fresh bales. You cleaned the tack, wiping down bridles and oiling saddles, working slowly and carefully until everything was perfect. And now you are here, lying on a bed of hay bales, with wool blankets wrapped around you, listening to the storm and feeling the presence of the animals who share this space with you. It is enough, more than enough. It is everything. The temperature in the barn has dropped slightly as the night has deepened, but you are still warm beneath your quilt. The lanterns provide a little heat, and the horses' bodies generate warmth as well, and the thick walls of the barn hold it all in, creating a pocket of comfort in the midst of the frozen world outside. You burrow a little deeper into the blankets, pulling them up to your ears, and you feel cocooned, wrapped, held. Your mind is quiet now. The constant chatter that usually fills your thoughts has faded away, replaced by a soft, empty calm. There are no worries here, no lists of things to do tomorrow, no replays of conversations from yesterday, no anxious planning or second-guessing or wondering. There is only this moment, and this moment is perfect exactly as it is. You hear a soft thump from the hayloft above, followed by the patter of tiny feet. The mice are moving around up there, going about their nocturnal business, and you smile to yourself. The barn is full of life tonight, even in the midst of the storm. The horses, the dog, the cat, the mice, and you, all of you safe and warm and together. The wind gusts again, harder this time, and the entire barn seems to lean into it, seems to brace itself against the force. The timbers creak and groan, a long, low sound like ancient wood speaking its own language, but nothing breaks, nothing gives way. The barn has stood through 100 storms like this one. It has weathered blizzards and ice storms and howling winds that seemed like they would tear the world apart. And it has always stood firm. It will stand firm tonight. You trust it completely. Miller's breathing has deepened even further, and you know he is fully asleep now, lost in whatever dreams old dogs dream. Perhaps he is running through summer fields, young and strong again, chasing rabbits through tall grass. Or perhaps he is simply experiencing a kind of peace that does not need images or stories, a deep and dreamless rest that is its own kind of perfect. Fig sleeps curled against him, warm and content, two old friends sharing the storm together. You feel your own consciousness beginning to drift now, beginning to float like a leaf on a slow-moving stream. Your body is completely relaxed, every muscle loose and soft, and your mind is following suit, letting go of its grip on wakefulness, letting go of the need to be alert and aware. You are safe here. You do not need to keep watch. Miller is doing that for you, and Fig is beside him, and the barn itself is doing that for you, and the storm, for all its fury, is protecting you as well, because it has driven you into this warm shelter where nothing can harm you. The lantern flames flicker slightly, casting moving shadows across the walls, and you watch them through half-closed eyes. The shadows are not frightening, they are soft and gentle, like the shadows cast by firelight, like the shadows that danced on your bedroom walls when you were a child and your mother would read to you before sleep. They are companions, not threats, and you welcome them. Your breathing is so slow now, so deep and regular, that you can barely feel it happening. Each inhale brings in the sweet smell of hay and horses and old wood. Each exhale releases a little more of the day's tension, a little more of the world's noise, a little more of everything that is not this perfect, peaceful moment. The storm is still raging. You can hear it, a constant rushing sound, like an ocean, like a river in flood, like the wind that blows across mountain tops. But it is distant now, muffled by the barn walls and by the layers of blankets and by the soft, dreamy state you are drifting into. It is beautiful, this storm. It is wild and fierce and powerful, and you are grateful for it because it has brought you here, to this place of perfect safety, perfect warmth, perfect peace. Barley sighs in his stall, a long, contented sound, and you echo it without meaning to. A sigh of your own, deep and soft, releasing the last bit of tension from your shoulders, from your jaw, from the small muscles around your eyes. Everything is letting go now. Everything is softening and loosening and melting into the warmth. You think briefly about the farmhouse, about the stone fireplace with its glowing logs, about the velvet armchairs and the thick rugs and the windows glowing amber in the darkness. It is a beautiful place, your home, and you love it deeply. But tonight you are exactly where you want to be, here in the barn, with the horses and the dog and the cat and the storm raging outside, here where the world is simple and the choices are clear, and the only thing that matters is being present, being whole, being exactly yourself. The lanterns are burning lower now. You can see that the flames have diminished slightly, fed less oil from the reservoirs, and you know they will burn for a few more hours and then gutter out on their own. But by then you will be asleep, deep and dreamless, wrapped in wool and warmth and the knowledge that you are safe. You will not need the light. The darkness will be a friend, not a threat, and you will rest in it like a child rests in its mother's arms. Your eyes are closed now. You did not decide to close them. They simply closed on their own, drawn down by the weight of peace, by the pull of sleep, by the deep primal need to rest. And behind your closed lids there is only darkness and the faint glow of the lanterns and the knowledge that you are here, you are safe, you are home. The wind howls, one long note that holds and finally fades. The snow falls, tapping against the wood like gentle fingers. The barn stands firm, its walls strong, its roof sound. The horses breathe in their stalls, deep and slow. Miller and Fig sleep beside you, warm bodies in the darkness, and you drift slowly and gently toward the deep, restful sleep that your body craves, that your mind welcomes, that your spirit has been waiting for all day. There is nowhere else you need to be. There is nothing else you need to do. There is no tomorrow to worry about, no yesterday to regret. There is only this moment, and this moment is enough, more than enough. It is everything. You are sinking now, sinking into the hay bales, sinking into the blankets, sinking into the barn itself, as though you are becoming part of the wood and the stone and the very earth beneath the floor. You can feel the weight of the quilt pressing down on you, and it is not a heavy weight, not a burden, but a comfort, a gentle reminder that you are here, you are real, you are held. The storm outside is reaching its deepest point now. The wind is a constant roar, unchanging and eternal, and the snow is falling so thickly that the world beyond the barn has ceased to exist. There is only white, only cold, only the wild fury of winter spending itself against the land. But you are not part of that wildness. You are inside, separate, safe. The barn is your island, your sanctuary, and nothing can touch you here. Miller shifts slightly beside you, and you feel the movement through the floor. His warmth radiates up toward you, and you can hear his heartbeat now, slow and steady, like a drum in the distance. It is a sound you have heard 1,000 times before, the sound of a living creature at complete peace, and it soothes you in a way that nothing else can. He is here. He is watching over you. Fig is warm against his side, and that means you can let go, you can release your grip on wakefulness, you can trust that everything will be all right. Barley's breathing has fallen into a rhythm now, a slow, steady pattern that matches the ticking of an invisible clock. In and out, in and out. Each breath is deep and full, and you can hear the way the air moves through his massive lungs, the way his ribs expand and contract, the way his whole body participates in the act of breathing. It is a meditation, this breathing, and you find yourself falling into sync with it, letting your own breath match his, letting your body follow the rhythm he sets. Bramble is silent, now so deeply asleep that you cannot hear him at all. But you know he is there. You can feel his presence in the stall beside Barley's, and that knowledge is enough. The old horse is resting, gathering his strength, letting his body repair itself in the way that only sleep can allow. He has earned this rest. He has worked hard for many years, carried riders through fields and forests, jumped fences and crossed streams, and done everything that was asked of him. Now he rests, and you are glad for him. There is nowhere else to be but here. You are safe, you are warm, you are home. The lanterns are dimming further. The flames are smaller now, barely more than glowing wicks, and the light they cast is orange and faint, like the last light of sunset. The shadows on the walls are longer now, deeper, and they seem to merge together into a single, gentle darkness that is soft and inviting rather than frightening. You watch the darkness creep closer, watch the light fade, and you are not afraid. You welcome it. You know that darkness is not absence, but presence, the presence of night, of rest, of the deep quiet that allows all living things to heal and grow. Your body is so heavy now, so completely relaxed, that you cannot imagine moving even if you wanted to. Your arms are loose at your sides, your legs are stretched out beneath the quilt, and your head is cradled perfectly by the pillow. Every part of you is supported, held, comforted. There is no tension anywhere in your body, no tightness in your shoulders, no clenching in your jaw, no furrowing of your brow. You are smooth and soft and open, like water, like air, like the snow falling outside. The wind finds another gap in the barn siding and whistles through it, and this time the sound is lower, deeper, like a distant horn. It is the sound of the storm singing to itself, the sound of winter celebrating its own power, and you listen to it with a kind of awe. The world is so much larger than you are, so much more powerful, so much more complex and beautiful and strange. And yet, here you are, safe inside this small wooden building, protected by walls built by human hands decades ago, surrounded by animals who trust you to keep them safe, just as you trust them to keep you company. There is a symmetry to this, you think, though the thought is slow and dreamy and barely forms into words. You take care of the horses, and they take care of you. You give them food and water and shelter, and they give you their presence, their warmth, their steady, calming breathing. It is an exchange, a partnership, a relationship built on mutual trust and respect. And tonight, in this storm, that relationship is more evident than ever. Your eyelids are so heavy now that you could not open them if you tried. They are sealed shut by the weight of sleep, by the pull of dreams, by the deep primal need to rest. And behind them there is only darkness, soft and warm and welcoming. No images, no thoughts, no memories, just darkness and the sound of breathing and the distant roar of the wind. The hay beneath you smells sweet and green, even through the canvas tarp and the wool blankets. It is the smell of summer captured and held, the smell of long days and warm sunshine and fields stretching away toward the horizon. It is a good smell, a comforting smell, and it reminds you that even in the depths of winter, summer is not gone forever. It is only sleeping just as you are sleeping, just as the horses are sleeping, just as the whole world is sleeping beneath its blanket of snow. The barn creaks again, a long, slow sound like a yawn, and you smile to yourself. The building is alive in its own way, you think. It breathes and sighs and settles, just as you do. It has its own rhythms, its own moods, its own ways of responding to the world around it. And tonight it is at peace, just as you are at peace. Miller's breathing is so slow now that you can barely hear it. Each breath is a long, deep inhalation, followed by an even longer exhalation, and the space between breaths seems to stretch on forever. He is in the deepest part of sleep now, the part where the body repairs itself, where the mind processes the day's experiences, where dreams rise and fall like waves on a distant shore. fig breathes with him, her tiny body rising and falling against his side. You are following them into that deep place, step by step, breath by breath, letting go of your grip on consciousness and allowing yourself to sink into the soft, dark warmth that is calling you. The storm is still there. You can still hear it, a faint rushing sound that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. But it is no longer important. It is no longer something you need to pay attention to. It is simply part of the night, part of the world, part of the vast and complicated tapestry of existence. And you are part of that tapestry too, a single thread woven into the whole, connected to everything and everyone, held in place by invisible bonds of love and trust and presence. Your breathing is barely perceptible now. Each breath is so shallow, so gentle, that it is more like a sigh than a breath. In and out, in and out. The rhythm is eternal, unchanging, like the rhythm of the ocean, like the rhythm of the earth spinning on its axis, like the rhythm of your own heart beating in your chest. You are safe here at Stone Creek Farm. You have always been safe here. The old barn with its weathered timbers and its smell of hay and leather is your sanctuary, your refuge, your home. The horses are your companions, your friends, your teachers. Miller and Fig are your guardians, your protectors, your constant presence. And the storm, for all its fury, is a gift, because it has driven you into this place of perfect peace, this moment of perfect presence, this night of perfect rest. There is nothing left to think about, nothing left to do, nothing left to be except exactly what you are, a living creature at rest, a human being who has chosen to be present, to be still, to be exactly here and nowhere else. The darkness is complete now. The lanterns have burned down to almost nothing, and the light they cast is barely enough to see by. But you do not need to see. Your eyes are closed, and you are drifting in a space where sight is not necessary, where all that matters is the feeling of warmth and safety and deep, abiding peace. The wind howls one last time, a long, drawn-out sound that seems to shake the very foundations of the barn. But the barn does not move. It stands firm, as it always has, as it always will. And inside, wrapped in wool and warmth and the presence of the animals you love, you let go completely. You let go of the day. You let go of tomorrow. You let go of everything except this moment, this breath, this perfect, peaceful now. You are safe here at Stone Creek Farm. You are safe. You are warm. You are home. You are exactly where you need to be. The barn walls hold strong. You are safe. Good night.